Warning: the following video might contain some elements that might not be suitable for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Mortal Kombat Annihilation is a 1997 film based on the Mortal Kombat video game series and a sequel to the 1995 film Mortal Kombat. This movie is infamously known for sucking major R's. Almost everyone from the first film was recast. The special effects look like utter garbage, and the plot of the movie is all over the place, which leads to the film making very little sense. Lots of fan-favorite characters from the first three games, including the likes of Ermac, Rain, Smoke, Cyrax, Shiva, Melina, and Baraka, appear in the movie, but they are completely wasted being killed off or not utilized well. Not to mention Johnny Cage, one of the most popular characters in the video game, and one of the beloved elements of the first film, is killed by Shao Kahn in the first 5 minutes of the movie after having his neck snapped. The fact that it was a box office bomb is only the cherry on top. Needless to say, this movie sucks. It's so bad that it canceled a planned sequel under the name of Mortal Kombat Devastation, which probably would have been based on Mortal Kombat 4 and maybe Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Most people who follow and support the Mortal Kombat series are very well aware of this, but I can guarantee that you will never hear about a lost piece of media, which is the original cut of Mortal Kombat Annihilation. In 2014, I learned about this version of this travesty through my job at the Indian Film Archive. Our assignment that week was to find footage to submit to some lost media archive in the U.S., and whoever found what was most viable would have a pretty decent pay raise. Looking for to submit to the lost media archives, I recall something I saw long ago. It was on a old Mortal Kombat forum where I stumbled upon information regarding what was said to be the original sequel to the Mortal Kombat movie from 1995. The info of the post had since been deleted. It was not the end of it. It was my job to do trash like this. So I was on a mission to determine if this original sequel was legit or if this website is just pulling my leg. That year, I traveled to different parts of the world to obtain information regarding this Mortal Kombat movie. After much talk with different people involved, I received a VHS tape during an interview with the original director of the movie. The VHS tape with a big New Line Cinema logo drawn on the front, which we took back to the film archive and watched, containing what was left of the original version. Only about an hour or less of the tape survived through deterioration as a result. Scenes flown in and out of context. Now here's a bit of background. The original sequel to the 1995 Mortal Kombat, of course, based on the games, was said to be bigger and better than the original. Should begin before the first even hit theaters, with some original actors, such as Robin Schroen, Lennon Ashby, and Christopher Lambert returning to reprise their roles. However, some of the main characters were recast as well. Sonny and Jack, in particular, because it was busy with Event Horizon. This film was not directed by Paul Anderson. Instead, a former Japanese game developer who was a Mortal Kombat fan who was chosen for the project. And this dude wanted this to be a more faithful adaptation of the video game. It wasn't filled with the first film's lack of gore, and he would openly speak of his dislike towards the uncensored SNES version of Mortal Kombat. So under his direction, the movie would have been more violent and bloody in line with the video games. In line with the video games the movies were based on. This would have drastically deviated from the first film's tone. Minor note: the film was not titled Mortal Kombat Annihilation, instead of being Mortal Kombat 2, like the game. The VHS tape we watch opens with the New Line Cinema logo, but without the iconic Mortal Kombat themes on. The opening credits are simply a black screen with white text and the opening music from the arcade version of Mortal Kombat 2. After this, it's opened with Raiden recounting events in the first film, and then cutting to the Chinese temple being swarmed by Outworld's warriors. Eventually, Shao Kahn himself. Here, Shao Kahn is not played by Brian Thompson, but instead a different actor, with his voice dubbed in by Frank Welker from his role in the first film. Another notable difference is that Kahn keeps his helmet on, much like what we got. Sadell and Wataru are also present at the beginning of the film, but noticeably, Ermac and Rain are not. Said Baraka and Melina take their places pretty much earlier on and having a bigger part throughout the film. I don't know if stuntman Dennis Kiefer played Baraka in this version. However, Melina is played by the same actors as Kitana, as the two are twin sisters. Another bit cut from the final version is that Melina's voice is dubbed over to sound more menacing and monstrous. Actually, the character of Shiva was not in the film, instead of her. The plan was to feature Kentaro. The tiger-striped Shoken was first seen in Mortal Kombat 2. However, due to the living hell it was to have Girl on the big screen in the first film, it was mostly substituted with CGI effects, such to how Reptile looks in his lizard form in the first film. Some shots with Katara were practical, but it was only the top half, so you could only see his head and shoulders. One thing that this version had over the final was that all of the main characters resembled how they did in the first film. Sonya is still in rags, Raiden is wearing the same outfit, and Shao Kahn looks the same as he does at the end of the first film, where he's teased for the sequel. And what we got was most of the recast characters don't even resemble what they were previously. In appearance and character, major note. Johnny Cage does not die at the beginning of the film. Instead, he was injured by Kentaro, who punches him in the chest, knocking the wind out of him. Raiden attempts to stop Shao Kahn, but he is unsuccessful, being thrown many feet into the air by a neat lift from Khan. After Raiden is sent flying off screen, the scene cuts to Johnny, injured from the blow to his chest from Kentaro, trying to recover. The punch was strong enough to make him spit out blood. Once Liu Kang and Sonya find him and try to help him get up, the scene cuts to another scene. With no context, the next scene takes place in a cave of sorts. Liu Kang and Katara run into the younger Sub-Zero, again played by Keith Kook, who played Reptile previously. However, he wears the mask pretty much the entire time. I mean, he takes it off once to show Liu Kang who he is, but then puts it right back on his head shortly after. Scorpion shows up, supporting his appearance from the first movie, and fights Sub-Zero, with the outcome being the same as Katana is captured and taken to Shao Kahn. Notably, Scorpion does not yell, "Suckers!" Instead, he ties up Katana with one of his living spears and coldly stares at Liu Kang and Sub-Zero on the other side of the bridge. But Liu Kang helps Sub-Zero up from the edge of the cliff. Instead of his rather hilarious one-liner, Scorpion says, "To hell with you," and teleports away with Katana. Both warriors then go on the search for Khan's whereabouts. After this, we simply progress to Johnny and Sonya, who are headed to the military base to find Jax. They find Jax, standing triumphantly with his cybernetic metal arms. After some brief character interaction, the scene cuts off Jack mid-sentence and immediately cuts to Johnny finding Cyrax, the yellow Lin Kuan cyber ninja. Jax and Sonya find him as well, much like in the garbage fire we got. But the difference here is that Sector, the red Lin Kuan cyber ninja, is also present with Cyrax fighting Johnny. The concept for Sector and Cyrax was the same as those seen in Mortal Kombat 3, with minor differences. Sector is the only robot who can shoot missiles here. Cyrax cannot. He's only seen to use his buzzsaw attack and net projectile. Fight goes on until Jax Gotcha grabs both the robots at once, bonks them together, and then rips both their heads off. This results in a massive oil, where right after Jax kills them off, the scene cuts to another. The following scene seems to have been scrapped from the final film. The scene also takes place in Khan's lair, but instead of Sindel being handpicked as Khan's general, the scene follows up on where Sub-Zero goes after he leaves Liu Kang behind in the cave where Katana was captured. Sub-Zero walks into Shao Kahn's throne room and demands to bring Scorpion forth. Khan laughs. As Scorpion teleports behind the Blue Warrior, the two ninjas begin to argue, with Scorpion accusing Sub-Zero of murdering his family and clan, but that was Bihan, the elder Sub-Zero who Liu Kang killed in the first movie, who had been thought to be responsible for the death of the Shara Ryu ninja clan, as well as the wife and son of Scorpion. While he's still on the opposing side, it appears as through the trance Shang Tsung had Scorpion in the first movie wore off. Sub-Zero denies the accusation from Scorpion, which leads to have to more jabs thrown and eventually a fight between the two. The fight ends with Sub-Zero being victorious before his ice cycle and paying with fatality from Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 on him. This is the first scene in the movie to be particularly gory. After killing Scorpion, well, for now, Sub-Zero tries to rescue Katana from her imprisonment to do so. He has to finish Shao Kahn. He throws his ice projectile at the Emperor, freezing him, and goes to rescue Katana from her cage. Before he can do so much as unlocking her cage, Sub-Zero finds a spear launched in his chest. Khan had fallen out of the ice and used one of the moves from Mortal Kombat 2. Sub-Zero proceeds to bleed out and die from his injury, as Shao Kahn laughs and says, "Was that your best?" After Sub-Zero is brutally murdered with the spear, Khan orders his extermination squad, including Motoro, Sindel, Baraka, and Melina, to pick up Sub-Zero off the ground and throw him in the basement. The extermination squad throws him into the trapdoor leading into the basement, which consists of a dark room with several bodies scattered about, including the skeletal remains of Shang Tsung from the first movie, based on the black sleeveless top. On top of several deceased warriors lies the remains of Sub-Zero. Immediately after this, the scene ends and cuts to a new one, The following scene also takes place in Khan's throne room. It's supposed to be a drastic, alternative version of the scene from the finished version. Shao Kahn hands Katana a drink of some sort and asks her to join him. She rejects this, explaining at him, explaining how he drove her mom to suicide. Rather than belittling her and walking away, Khan says, "Very well," and signals Melina to come over. She does and enters the cage that Katana is in. She tries to fight back, but it is not enough to stop her sister. As a result, Katana dies as a result of being bitten in the neck and particularly eaten. Another scene comes, presumably much later in the movie, where Liu Kang eventually finds where Katana was held captive, and at first he thinks he has found her. He took her out of the cage for a slight embrace. She uses him for her to kiss, and then she removes her mask. As it turns out, Melina simply put on Katana's outfit and tried to eat him. He shoves her off and then bends the whereabouts of Katana. She laughs at him as Katana enters the room, who has been waiting for him to come and try to rescue Katana. Once Liu Kang says he wants Katana, Shao Kahn laughs and says, "Liu Kang, you're too late. Katana is no more." Baraka enters the room holding the indecently exposed corpse of Katana, placing her on the ground and walking away. Devastated, Liu kneels and mourns her death while he's on the ground. Khan orders Baraka to assassinate Liu. Once Baraka goes in for the attack, Liu counters him with a fireman's carry catch and tosses him into the nearby fire pit. Notably, Baraka is seen to go into the fire pit as Rain is not there to double for him. In fact, Baraka has a whole sequence dedicated to him burning alive. The effect similar to that of the Nazi from one of the Indiana Jones movies, who has his face burned off. He eventually disintegrated into nothing. Geez, no wonder Rain took the fall for the horrible Tarkat 10. After this, we simply cut to the climax of the film. The film's climax goes like something like this. Johnny Cage faces Kitaro and wins. The fight resembles over the fight with Goro and Cage from the first movie, going as far as Kitaro being the victim to the nut punch and having his head uppercut 3 times before it is launched off of his body. This is a reference to the glitch in the second game related to Johnny's fatality, in which he uppercuts his opponent's head off 3 times. Right after Kitaro, Johnny goes to face Shao Kahn. Unfortunately, he does not win. He's the first one to die in battle with the Emperor, who beats him up with his warhammer and throws his head off with it. After Cage, Kahn completely dismissed the entire Earthrealm team, among many others. He kills Sonya, Jax, and even Liu Kang using his soldier charge abilities and his hammer. Earthrealm loses. Shao Kahn wins, and he is surrounded by corpses. Next, he laughs maniacally and monologues about his victory while embracing Queen Sindel. Just as Khan has won, Raiden teleports behind him and demands his surrender. The invasion of Earthrealm was against the rules of the Elder Gods. Khan laughs in Raiden's face and shoves him. Before going right back to making out with his queen, the Thunder God gets up and blasts the Emperor full of lightning. Green-lit energy begins to consume Shao Kahn as he screams in agony from the blast. The Emperor deforms into ridiculous proportions before exploding. The power of Raiden and Shao Kahn's energy, the explosion becomes much too big and wipes out everyone on the battlefield. No one stands at the battlefield victorious. No one wins. Brutality. However, the sun rises. The realms are no longer merged. The structures aside are all intact once again. Earth is safe again. The last shot of the film is a close-up shot of Khan's helmet. Lying in the rubble, the scene then fades to black. No credits, no music, just a new line cinema logo after about 10 seconds of darkness. A red screen of death with a loud beating noise. The scene after the logo, final thesis. This movie's canon and Annihilation was made instead. We have come to understand that the original director was fired due to creative differences. Kitaro was cut from the film, and replaced with Shiva, Baraka, and Melina were reduced to trash. And some actors left the project due to the final version of the film script freaking sucking arse. You shouldn't. But if you ever find a VHS tape with a New Line Cinema logo drawn on it in a white marker, make sure you watch it and draw your own conclusions. I'll bet you be just as confused as us. So that was Mortal Kombat Annihilation original version, and final thoughts on this Creepypasta. It's pretty good, you know. Intro is not like, you know, insanely crazily scary, just more like more of a what if Mortal Kombat Annihilation is actually good and kind of a bit more faithful to the games than what Annihilation is doing, you know, like by characters and keeping that whole bloody violence, you know, like it's a good creepypasta, you know, but it's just like there's like lack of horror, you know, besides, you know, several character deaths, you know, during the last half of the story and everything else. So yeah, kind of wish that there's like a, this Creepypasta looks is freaking better than the final version of Mortal Kombat Annihilation that we got, since this is like more faithful to the games than that disaster. So anywho, don't have anything else to say, so like and comment this video and subscribe more content. So this is Mr. Freddy here, and I hope you have a very good night. So see ya.